Labor leader Anthony Albanese has been accused privately by, in the papers too, by some Labor MPs of having no vision, no big plans, no cut through, and tonight he's trying to change that. He's given a big speech, in fact he's speaking right now, as you can see, promising to help the 25% of Australian workers that he says are casual workers and need more protection. Things like portable entitlements, long service leave, job security and the rest. And I have to say, I do have some sympathy. Everyone, I think, would like more security. I'm sure of that. Probably some need it too. But everything like this does come at a cost. What is that cost and who will pay? Well, Labor spokesman Tony Burke this afternoon was vague.
All we're announcing tonight on that one is that we'd be consulting with the states and territories to work out what might be practical, what might not be.
And Industrial Relations Minister Christian Porter, well, he sure pounced.
Anthony Albanese is promising that he will extract up to $20 billion from Australian businesses to pay additional portable leave entitlements beyond that which even permanent employees enjoy, at a time when Australian business has been on its knees and recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic.
I was joined a short while ago by Sky News political editor Andrew Clennell to talk about this, and also about a surprise attack on the Morrison government by the man who recently headed the Prime Minister's own department. Andrew, this is the big speech from Anthony Albanese. There was a lot of criticism. He didn't have a vision. Now he says he does have a vision, more job security and portable entitlements for people who are in casual work. My question really is, who's paying for this?
Well, that's not clear, because he says he's going to consult with state and territory governments, unions and employers on it. Isn't this what Scott Morrison did last year? Scott Morrison set up these working groups. They talked for 6 months and they came out with a couple of reforms that Labor are getting stuck into, but it's not clear they'll get past the Senate, and they're not as far-reaching as they could be. So he's promising to consult, really, on a lot of this stuff. And look, I don't think it's going to win you an election, quite frankly. But he has one thing right, in the sense that people are feeling more insecure at work, Andrew, with JobKeeper coming off. They're having their hours cut, they're having their wages cut. That's one of the few lines of attack Labor has on the government, unless it comes up with some bold and brave policy. And that's why I think they've gone down this route. It's yet more a case of a leader of a political party, though, looking at the focus groups to come up with the policy rather than the other way around. That's how I see it. I don't think, he'll get much momentum out of this at all, but at least he'll be able to say we have some policy. He's got a long way to go, Anthony Albanese, to convince Australians to vote for him.
Look, I think you're spot on here. Like, I am sympathetic to the job insecurity argument. I am sympathetic to needing your entitlements to follow you, but I need to know how much will it cost consumers, who's going to pay for it, and just to be told, well, we're going to have a chat about it, I don't know if that cuts the mustard. It does seem to me something dragged out, in a case of emergency, break glass, let's have a talk. I'm not sure it works. But, meanwhile, we've got this economy that desperately needs help, all the help you can give it. You've got so many people still out of work. I know we're going better than expected, but expected wasn't very good. And suddenly, South Australia closes the border to Victoria again. Just a handful of infections, it's under control, yet South Australia, bang, border shut. What do you make of that?
Well, I couldn't believe it when I heard it this afternoon. I thought there must be like 20 cases in Melbourne I don't know about, but I'm told not. So really, Andrew, I think this is extraordinary and it's deeply concerning. I mean, this just keeps happening on the basis of 3 cases. Where does logic come in here? I know people are scared of this virus. When there's 100 cases a day, start worrying. When there's 2 or 3 cases in a hotel quarantine facility, it's probably just that they're testing now and they weren't before. When it spreads, start worrying. This is just logic, and it's not just people who are losing their minds over it, it's governments. And I just think this is a real sledgehammer with a walnut stuff, although there's not even the walnut, there's nothing. So the only hope...
That's so great. Also, what I don't get, Andrew, is, look, on the remote possibility that someone in Victoria who is sick, and there are very few, manages to get to South Australia not knowing they're sick, right, and all that time, and infect someone there, is it really beyond the wit of South Australia's contact tracing to find that one person and their contacts. I mean, this is one country, and I don't understand this insane knee-jerk stuff. Now, you had another great scoop today about Martin Parkinson, the former head of the Prime Minister's Department. He quit in 2019. I thought he gave a rather remarkable speech today. Tell us about it.
He did, to the Association of Superannuation Funds, and what he said was when the federal government ministers were comparing the investigation of the World Health Organisation to WMD inspectors in Iraq, he said, what kid came up with that line? How's that going to play for you? He also made the point that why can't we have difficult sort of relations with China but still keep the communication channels open? So he was a federal bureaucrat, the most senior, in fact, for Scott Morrison and Turnbull only recently, and yet he's openly critical of the approach on China. Now, we know that we pushed a loan for this World Health Organisation inquiry into where the virus came from. We now know they're saying, look, it came from animals after all. And we're hopeful, or the government's hopeful, that at least China will be on notice if there's another pandemic, and they've made some hay or some progress in terms of that. But generally, what a disappointment when China's banned a lot of our exporters now because of this call for an inquiry, and nothing much appears to be coming out of it. It was clearly the wrong move, particularly for Australia to go it alone. Australia needed other countries to come with it, so we had a bit of cover, just for the sake of our exporters and our economy, because we rely so heavily on China. I think most people watching tonight will totally agree with Scott Morrison's stance on this and will be very anti-China because of the way they handled the coronavirus. It seemed to have been covered up initially. And I understand, and also the bullying tactics on Australia. I understand all that, but we can't help the fact that 40% of our exports go there. Diplomacy has to take over at some point, and that's where Martin Parkinson is really making this point. It's a strong point, and I think it's pretty damaging to the government. I do notice Scott Morrison's toned it down with his anti-China rhetoric this year. He's desperately trying to get that relationship back on track. Might not be the case for years.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I've got to say, you know, I'm hearing Martin Parkinson, I respect him. That said, to ask for an independent inquiry into how a devastating virus has killed so many people, that shouldn't be the occasion to get someone's back up. Of course there should be an investigation, and you'd have to be nuts or a dictatorship to object to it. And that said too, I have to add that China's found many reasons. Well, how long was that list the ambassador gave us of all our sins, which included, you know, criticising China and we should shut up? I mean, I think they were looking for a lot of reasons to punish us. But yeah, mate, I'm hearing it, and you're right. It's going to embarrass Scott Morrison. Thank you very much for your time, Andrew Clennell.
Good to see you again, Andrew.